So,
cool. Well, let's do that. I mean, I've just pressed go live, so we are going
awesome.
live.
Hello, LinkedIn.
Good evening, LinkedIn. Well, it's good evening for me. What time is it for you, Carlos?
It is noon here in Oregon, where I'm at.
It is 8 p.m. here in the UK, in beautiful Somerset, although it's a bit cold. Today's
Yeah,
weather is, if you imagined English weather as a non-English person, today is exactly what it was like.
yeah, here in Portland, we have this overcast, probably this overcast sky that's probably familiar to uh, all of y'all in the UK, right there, with all the overcast. Which it when we started the restream, before the restream, um, Martin, you went and said, "Can you hold on for a minute? I've got to go put some wood in the fire." And I was like, "Wow, that's so English. That's so beautifully English. Like, I love that."
Yeah, well, I mean, we're supposed to be talking about NFTs, but
Well,
it's the roadmap show. It's the NFT
roadmap
roadmap
show.
today. But before we get stuck into NFTs and roadmaps, and this is actually slightly connected, 20 years ago, my parents moved out of London to the countryside, and then they had a bit of land, and we planted like 400 trees 20 years ago. And now they've all grown and they're super huge. And the wood that we have just put on the fire here is wood that we've grown sustainably in our garden, which is pretty.
I love that. That's a really nice. That's a nice lead into NFTs. Actually, I think that's what we talk about, right? A lot about the legacy of the experience, the NFT, the memories, and that's an NFT. That's
Exactly.
cool.
And actually, so what's been going on? What's been happening for us?
Well, yeah, lots going on. I have I'm starting to anyone watching, starting to onboard people into the Brand New Voices Discord server more. It's been running for months, but I haven't been too active in it. But now there's more of a plan, so I welcome anyone to. I'll drop links in after the show to join, and please join us. Uh, Most of it is just if you join just to learn Web3. That's what we're doing in there. But the bigger objective is for our big purposes, our big vision, and we're going to do this starting out by traveling the exciting world of DeFi because uh, DeFi is offering a lot of opportunities right now for passive income streams. So this is a personal thing for me, but it's also for anyone who wants to join and has a good attitude about exploration and can tolerate some risk. You don't have to have a lot of money. That's not the point, but that's what I think is a great way to really understand the depths of Web3. So I welcome everyone.
So this brand new voices is a community, a Web3 community, and where's the oasis? Where do people go to drink? Not the Kool-Aid, but where do people go to congregate?
On you mean on the as far as like on the Discord server
Yeah,
or
Discord.
yeah, we've got a Discord server, and that's to me community is everywhere. So it's here on LinkedIn, it's on Toucan after the show, but uh, the Discord is a nice way to gather. For me, I do a lot of curating of resources, and I love to just when I'm traveling around on the web, I'll find something really good that the community can benefit from, and I'll put it in the Discord. So it's a good repository for information that you can access in specific channels for DeFi, DAOs, all that stuff. But then the idea is we'll get more community talks around there, and that's where it's at. But it's all over. I mean, wherever we're at, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where's Stacy? I knew there was something missing.
Stacy, yeah, Stacy's missing, and she had to go to an appointment. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's a chiropractor.
Okay.
She's getting put.
She's been very busy, I know. Yeah, that's because she's been busy, probably leaning over and doing all kinds of exciting things for. I know she's building up a coalition of women Web3 educators, and I think that's a really, really important and cool thing that she's doing.
Excellent. And I can see we've got Golden, Gigi Arena.
Hey, Golden.
Hey, Golden, how you doing?
Nice.
Excellent.
So, so roadmaps, let's kick that off. I think it's a really big isn't it kind of a big revelation we sort of stumbled into somehow. I don't know how it started, but we've been talking. I put a post up about it early this morning. That's been getting a lot of good traction from, interestingly, people from across the spectrum, marketers, filmmakers, NFT artists. And I think that's a good sign that anytime I see that kind of thing, it means that's the connecting point that we should focus on for establishing these bridges into this new Web3. Right.
So what do we, I mean, because I saw the chatter about roadmaps, and what do we mean by a roadmap?
So a roadmap is, a basic map of you can call it a journey. In Brand New Voices, I've called it before, Creator Island. And I thought that was a nice visualization that a lot of people understood. And I did this little graphic of, using LinkedIn as an example. Like, you have if you try to do process all of LinkedIn, it's very paralyzing because it's so big. It's, I think a lot of content creators get hung up on, oh my God, this is like, what, I don't want to talk to this many people. So I think a good framework is to think about LinkedIn as this vast ocean of 700 million people. But just like in real life, like, you have islands in the ocean, land. And if you think about an island, it's much nicer, it's smaller. And you can create your own island on LinkedIn or wherever, Twitter. And on these islands, you can visualize what it would be like to well, first of all, who do you want on the island? What types of people are going to help you build a community on this island that's enjoyable, that people can make a living, maybe. They can relax, they can have fun, there's entertainment, education, so forth. So what type of, for the fun part, what type of drinks are going to be served on the island? What are the amenities that you're going to offer? Like, all that stuff is kind of, when you think about it, like a business. And you have to think about that anyway in your business of what do you want your customers to enjoy with your products and services and communities. So I think that's a very good illustration of what a roadmap can be, but they can be a lot of things in terms of, that's the beauty. And Martin, you've sketched out some amazing roadmaps yourself, and maybe you can talk a little bit about some of your visions of what a roadmap is for different types of businesses, or anything that you can add to that in your experience.
Yeah. So I mean, I just did a quick sketch. So what you're saying is, like, the platform is the ocean, mm-hmm. Whether it's whichever platform. I mean, there's hundreds of, like, there are 7 seas around the world, right? So there's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, mm-hmm. Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, plus all of the, let's say, Chinese platforms, the Chinese oceans, because they have Weibo, Douyin, WeChat, Youku, all their platforms. So basically, we've got the ocean mm-hmm. platform, and then creators are building their own islands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the creator economy, right? We're all creating our own islands, and that's another thing that that metaphor. You hear that a lot, like no man is an island, no person is an island, and that's important too, because at the same time we're building these individual islands, we have to understand we need think about that. Like, you can't have a freestanding island out there. I mean, it might go on for a while, but you're going to run out of food. People are going to get irritated with just being isolated out there, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to bring the right types of education models. You're not going to have the fun if it's just the same old stuff, and then you run out of resources, and then it's a bad deal. So um, at the same time we're creating the islands, we need to connect islands together and have, say, boats that go in between, and trips and ferry rides and all that stuff. Commerce has to run through islands, and you this is you can go back through history, like what happens when you connect lands together. That's civilization. Like, that's the power of commerce and civilization, um that. And I think we, as creators in this new virtual space, we have to start thinking like that. We're building the next land. We're building the next civilization right now, virtually. And I think that's a really good way to think about all of this stuff. NFTs, community is an actual, true representation of civilization, of our societies in the future, that are frankly are here right now. We may not think of them like that, but where do we spend most of our days now?
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, on video, on chat, Zooms, volleys. Yep, there you go. There's all these different dots and islands. So that's sort of the road. That's the importance. When you think about all that, then the roadmap becomes a very important piece of how that's done. And it doesn't mean that, to me, you don't, a roadmap, just like anything, you can take like a marketing plan. Everyone knows a marketing plan is it's a aspirational thing. It's a goal, and it's to help plan and all that, but it's not going to be some set in stone, thing that never changes, because that would just be a bad marketing plan. It's got to change with inputs and feedback loops and so forth. So the roadmap to me is no different.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I was sort of like, okay, a roadmap. Is it like a roadmap's not new, like you just outlined? You have a marketing strategy and a growth plan and all of this sort of stuff. But is the difference the fact that normally that stuff gets done behind the scenes by the platform to scale the platform,
Yeah.
to scale the boundaries of the ocean, and the plans get done by marketing experts and strategic planners and creative directors and BD developers and all the sort of domain experts, I suppose, are like behind the scenes, and then the plan just gets executed, and then the general population, the users, populate it.
Right.
Whereas now, is it a case that because it's all getting turned inside out, and the fact that communities are sort of shying away from the sort of the general waterfall of a platform, that we're creating our own little islands, therefore we need our own plans to populate the islands, and people are sort of doing this in public. So like, how do the dots get connected?
Yep. Yeah, that's a big point. And I think that's the big difference, what you described, actually, between Web 2 and Web 3, because that's probably nothing new. I think it's an innovative approach that a lot of people didn't take, but it's not new in terms of, oh, here's what we want our buyers to do, this kind of thing. Here's the map, here's the journey. And then, you get feedback loops from the people. But that's powerful. Like, don't get me wrong, we're going to keep doing that. There's no doubt. We're not at this point where we're fully Web3, and that may not be for years, actually. But the seeds are being planted now, and you have to really start thinking in expand. I would say not different terms, but really expanded and really blow up that idea, because you have to go way beyond the customer in Web3 and talk about real community. So what you're pointing out is really critical, where you might seed. It's like a brand. You can seed a brand. You have your designers and your marketing plan and all that stuff sets the brand. But everyone knows once that brand is unleashed, you don't have any control, and you can try to control it, but good luck. What I've heard from some of these top, I can't remember. I think what's his name? Who's that big branding guy? Newhouse or Newman? I can't remember. He's a very big shot. He's been on Chris Doe's podcast before, but he talked about branding in terms of herding cats. I thought it was a nice visual. Like, he's like, you can do all you want, but at the end of the day, you're herding cats. That's branding. You try to grab as many of the cats as you can, but some of them are going to escape, but that's okay. But that's just how it is. That's life. But you get as many as you can. You take them, you put your arms around them, and you try your best to create be a good parent, or whatever you want to call it, to the cats, because the cats, they're all doing their own thing, and you can't control them, basically. And I thought that was a nice way to talk about brand. And we can think about community the same, that you obviously can't control community. They're not yours to, monetize off of or whatever, but they can help you build your island. And the big thing that's cool in with NFTs, Web3, tokens, coins, and all that stuff is that, how you said, you asked, like, how did those connections get made between the islands? That's how, because you need to empower your community to be leaders. And the ones that don't want to be leaders, that's fine too. They can join the other leaders, and those become things like DAOs. That's what we see happening. They become maybe DAOs, or they just become crypto communities that are powered by a token or an NFT, even access NFT. And what that does is that it, for instance, an NFT can be licensed in a certain way that many people can create their own islands off of that, meaning economics, everything, their own little mini economies, literally. So that's never been done. Like, that's the huge difference between Web3 and 2, because if you look at from that vantage, like I look at everything from that framing, because it really helps you see the possibilities of what to be super creative with your solutions with Web3. And that island thing can quickly become a very bustling place where it's full of life, and it's full of opportunities for people, both economically and entertainment wise, and all that stuff that we value in life. So that's I think what you did is great, because we can see how to do it now. We have a template, and that roadmap is going to help you visualize that stuff, and then the community is going to help you build it. So you don't have to, I don't think with a roadmap, you have to have all the answers. In fact, I think it should be pretty loose, so that you can allow the community to help you build it, of what is this outcome, going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to work in advertising, and we used to spend hours sitting around second guessing what we thought clients
Yeah,
would like, customers would like,
right.
cool kids would like, what the KOLs would like, what the influencers would like.
Yeah.
And then what it seems to be now is that the shift is going to away from a few people deciding what is cool, is to sort of like the assets are going to be owned by the users through NFTs and smart contracts
Mhm.
and all this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. Right. Like all kinds of things like the NFT is super powerful because it can offer access into community and many other things, even financial things. But it also it allows you know it allows that provenance, that ownership piece where it's not, I think people misunderstand this ownership thing, that it's sort of like they bristle at the like, oh, you're the owner of that thing, like you're going to sue me. And it's like, no, what that really does is it helps you establish a control mechanism. It's a support thing, right? Like it helps people, it helps you, and it helps other people involved be confident that that is a system to be relied upon. It's a trust system, right? Like that's where I think people go wrong with the ownership. I don't even think we should call it ownership. It's more like it's a trust mechanism, because that's what blockchain does, is it builds trust.
Is it like then a sort of official bootleg? So, for example, now in the metaverse or wherever, people can let's say you're a super sneakerhead, and you can start, instead of just it being an underground subculture that Nike releases shoes and then they're in the domain and people do whatever they want with them, through NFTs and owning a stake in a drop of a new Nike, let's say a Cactus Jack, what's the guy's name, the big rapper,
Uh,
Kardashian boyfriend guy, what's his name?
oh yeah, yeah. Yeezy.
No, no,
Uh,
no, the other one. Not not
oh,
not not Yeezys.
the Kim Kardashian isn't. You're talking about Yeezy. They call him Yeezy. The,
No, no, he's Adidas. It's the other guy who's got his own
oh,
sock brand, who put the swoosh upside down on the shoe. What's his name? Travis
oh,
Scott. Travis Scott.
oh, Travis Scott. Okay.
Yeah. So like Travis Scott has a super hot Nike crossover line, and he's got his Cactus Jack, and he's basically allowed to do whatever he wants with a Nike shoe, because as soon as he does it, he's the arbiter of cool. So the next generation of Web3 Travis Scotts are just going to get all this through NFTs. And
Yeah.
Nike's
Yeah.
not going to lose ownership of its brand, but its brand is going to have more ownership within its consumers. Is that right?
Yeah. 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 I've even seen it taken a step further with, it's not NFTs, but you can see how the NFT ethos. I like herding cats. That's great. That's awesome. Chris Dill will probably like that if he sees this. Chris, hello, Chris. Or you can have us on your show.
I've been bugging Chris in the LinkedIn comments.
Yeah. Um, I would love to hear his views on Web3, by the way.
I wonder what
But
NFTs he's working on.
yeah, totally. Uh, no, but I was thinking, um, what was I just saying? I lost my train of thought about. This. Yeah, the sort of thinking, the NFT thinking is starting to seep into a lot of brands. Um, because I think they see it coming, and they see the creator economy making a lot of headway, and now NFTs are joining. Like I think NFTs and Web3 are starting to influence creator economy in a very healthy way that wasn't there before. Because before this, creator economy, I feel like was really just pure influencer economy, and I don't think that's there's nothing new. to me, like, going out on TikTok and being an influencer wasn't new, a new thing. And still the platforms benefited the most. Like, it's so the creator, most creators today, even, they have to have either represented by an agency, or they have to really hustle and have their merch line. They're doing this, they're on their YouTube channel, they have their TikTok, they have their Instagram, blah blah blah, and they have to monetize, and they have to address all the comments and their fans and have their communities. This is overwhelming. It's no wonder they're so many of them are kind of breaking down, having mental breakdowns, because it's a lot of that's a lot of stress, and I don't think it's fair to anybody, really, the creator or their audience, because that's not sustainable. So I think what Web3 is doing, and the NFTs are helping them establish a monetizable community piece, but also go on their vision. They can actually not just monetize, but they can capitalize, not just them, but they're allowing their community to create businesses off of their coin, for instance. And I think that's the big, really good thing for their creator economy. And I was going to say, this brand that I read of, I think it's what's that footwear brand? Under Armour. Under Armour just did this interesting thing with one of their athletes, influencers, where he now has he has his own brand under Armour, but it's his own freestanding brand. It's not Under Armour. It's kind of a step further than your Nike example. He has his own thing. Like, this is his own literal brand. I can't remember, one of my friends, Sven. I'm sorry, Sven, if you're watching. I can't pronounce your last name, but he shared it, and I saw his post, and it was really interesting, because you're really seeing that influence of true ownership that an NFT would give, that this athlete is allowed to basically have his own brand. And so it's a risk, where if he breaks off from Under Armour, like, it doesn't really have anything to do with Under Armour, but I'm sure that the smart brands are going to build in trust ecosystems. They can no longer tie athletes and creators into deals that they used to. You're under contract to do this and this, because I think that's created a lot of bad blood in the sporting industry anyway. Like, when they sign these contracts, and then that athlete becomes a really big star on his own right, or her own right, then their deal that they did 3 years ago, that they signed, which before they were really famous, right, or they were a big an important member of the team, that now looks like a horrible deal. And so they become a bitter player. They become it's a lot of drama. It becomes corporate. So I think that's what we're going to see. NFTs really revolutionize that.
Jordan was really the spearhead of this, wasn't he? Because the Jordan sub-brand, Jumpman 23, the fact that Jordan shoes are now golf shoes, baseball shoes, American football shoes, and there's multiple athletes under the Jordan brand, and then Jordan sits within the Nike empire.
Yeah, I think you could say that was one of the first true, obviously Nike powered the Jordan brand, but I think you could use that as an early example of where there was actually a freestanding startup company underneath a major brand that had its own, its own budget, its own everything. I think they even had their own manufacturing and so forth. I mean, their own access to factories and getting products made. So
you had the greatest of all time to get that.
I mean, that's the thing. only Jordan could do that in the old way of business. Only a Jordan could do that. There's no way, you know, somebody, you know, even Scottie Pippen, you know, I know we're kind of veering off the topic, but I think it's an interesting tie-in to this NFT thing. Um, uh, I was watching that ESPN. There's this great ESPN documentary thing called The Last Dance, about, you know, basically the Bulls, and it's mostly around Jordan. But I didn't know that, you know, Pippen signed a pretty bad deal early on when he joined, and it was a long contract. Like, and then he became the number two. You know, he was number two after Jordan. You know, he was amazing, but he was getting paid one of the lowest salaries. And so, yeah, he signed the contract. So what could he do? And this created a ton of bad blood between, you know, the players, between, you know, Jordan and Pippen and the you know, the GMs and all that stuff, all the management, the probably the sponsors. You know, it was a mess because he was clearly getting paid way less than he was worth. And so that's the thing. That's what an NFT, and I think that's why a lot of athletes are getting into the NFT space. You see a lot of, you know, I've seen Major League Baseball players on the side are doing NFT art. Like, what? Why are they doing? And I think that's the thing. They're going on their passions and their kind of passion for the space and business and entrepreneurship. But the second, probably the primary objective is they know how the business works, and they want to have an ownership stake in all the work that they do as a creator. They're basically like creators. I mean, you could call them a creator. So in their own field. So that I think is a big reason you see a lot of NBA and these, you know, sports guys that are really getting into it, into this space. So pretty fascinating stuff.
So if we were to bring it back to roadmaps, what do we need for a roadmap?
Gigi said Snoop Dogg is a heavy investor. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, Snoop Dogg. You get the hip hop guys. Snoop Dogg. Who's the other guy? MC Hammer. You know, they're all into this NFT stuff. Yeah, for a roadmap, I think just a basic, you know, to start out simple. I would say. I think it should be a simple matter of dream. You know, you should start from a dream state. To me, you know, because that's going to generate the most powerful kind of roadmap in my mind. Is there can be different roadmaps. I mean, I think, didn't you do one that's more, you've done ones that are a little bit more, maybe they're more specific to a certain type of product or something. So I think you have those. That's a roadmap too. But I think the roadmap that I'm thinking of when we're talking about like establishing this big vision is you have to take your big vision and put it into the roadmap, right? Like, that's what I would say you would start out with your vision,
Yeah,
and go from there, and then make it pretty simple, and I would say pretty loose and not too complex. Don't overthink all the little details yet, because you're going to need input. And then I would put it out to public. I would put it out on LinkedIn. I would put it on Twitter, especially, and get feedback loops, and wherever your social media is at. Get the crowdsource that thing. Like, get that thing out there so that you can get some validation on the idea, and b, maybe link up with people that are willing to help you build it, right? And that want to be part of your community. So early investors, you can call them, whether they're, you know, not to do with money, just to do with their participation. And then, you know, get a few people, even five people together, three people, it doesn't matter, that can help you understand, be part of your vision, and that you can test things out on them or whatever. Those are my what do you think? How do you look at it, Martin?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sort of thinking, so like I've created roadmap. I have a roadmap for building presentations, which is
Okay.
like my main day job is building presentations for people and or guiding people through presentations. And I remember when I worked in advertising, I worked with a lot of strategic planners, and they would sort of think it through. And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's like a media strategy or a ad buy strategy or what you think is going to happen. And then so now that I created what I call the 8 steps to Showtime, which is 8 steps that take you from an idea on a whiteboard to actually presenting live to your audience.
Cool. That's nice.
It's a process that's come because I found myself so many times at 2 o'clock in the morning going, why am I still working on a presentation the night before the pitch at 2 a.m.? This is ridiculous, ludicrous. So I needed a process and a roadmap that I could sort of apply to any presentation challenge. And so when we're talking about like a roadmap for, creating an NFT, and actually watching people on say TikTok. So Crunchy Cows is a guy that's creating lots of NFTs, and he's building in public, and he's sharing a lot of his sort of like missteps, wobbles, successes, all the things that have gone right, all the things that have gone wrong. And I think what I think is super important, that is the main highlight of what you said, is like keep it simple and then get it out there as soon as possible. Get it into the hands of other people, get some feedback, get people to shake the tree and see if the tree breaks, or see what leaves fall off the tree, see if any fruit falls off the tree, see if somebody can come and by shaking the tree make it stronger. And I think that it all comes back to community, doesn't it? It's like you need people that you can trust, which was another key word that you used. And I think that is super interesting, because we started off, we're going to have to jump into the Toucan soon. We're 5 minutes away from the end of the session. Cool. So if anybody's listening, and Golden will hopefully see you as usual in the Toucan very soon. So the Toucan is our community hangout, because you can sit here and listen to us talk for 40 minutes. Why don't you come and be part of the conversation?
That's right. We want to hear all your takes on things and your travels too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the key, one of the best things that, not one of the best things, but something that's super really worth highlighting is this sort of like, get it out there into the community of people that are going to help be part of making it better. So we started off today's show talking about me putting wood on the fire. And the whole reason we're having these WTF shows about NFTs is because I approached you about, I wanted to know how to mint an NFT. And so I was working on something last night, and like, this is quite interesting from the roadmap idea. So like, we've talked before about NFTs being a story that people buy into, a belief, a set of values, because at the end of the day, it's an arbitrary JPEG. And like the CryptoPunks, like any graphic designer that studied for 6 months could in Photoshop recreate one of those images, but they would really struggle to sell them for the amount that the CryptoPunks did, because they weren't there first, and they weren't in the communities, and they weren't talking, and they weren't doing all this sort of stuff.
Right.
I've been thinking about like, okay, so I'm a 44-year-old white guy from England. My story is so boring. Like, there was a young,
I don't think so.
There was a young girl who's not white, fantastically, and my kids are half Chinese, so like I love this sort of stuff. There was this little girl, and she drew some NFTs, and they sold, and she's made $4 million or something, and she's 12.
Yeah.
And the story is that she's a young, like a tween. So she's the first tween, and she's also mixed. Her heritage, I don't want to get it wrong, but she's not Caucasian. That's even better. And so her story is there. And so this is me working on my first NFT.
Oh, nice. What's going on there? What
So
is the
basically, I've in the sort of blocky Minecraft CryptoPunk
cool?
style, I drew a
Uh-huh.
tree,
Nice.
and the app that I drew the tree in, I can then take that tree and superimpose it on a photo. And so I was
Okay.
just sort of sitting around. I was actually sitting on the toilet, sketching,
Okay.
going
It's a good
around.
backstory.
Yeah, yeah. Just get all the details in,
I
and
love
you,
it. Yeah.
and you can see you know. So I'm thinking like, so I've started with the artwork, and I'm working backwards to what the roadmap is. And so I'm thinking like, okay, 20 years ago, my parents had the vision to plant 400 trees in the garden, and like all my mates came down, and there were 20 of us from university at art school. We spent the weekend sleeping on the floor, and we planted 400 trees. 22 years later, those trees are sort of, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 meters high, and they're
Mhm.
supplying fuel for our heating in our house. So I was like,
That's
well, why don't I make like an NFT instead of it being like a character? Why doesn't it become part of nature? And so I'm going to go
cool.
out into the garden and start superimposing my pixel tree into the environment that I'm living in now.
I
And
love
then I
it.
was thinking, like, well, Brewdog. Have you heard of Brewdog? It's a craft beer company.
Mm-mm.
A British car. They're like a British craft beer, and they're like every X amount of beer you buy, they're going to plant trees. And there are
Oh,
lots of
cool.
now that
Nice.
are getting B Corp certified and
Hmm.
carbon neutral by you know offsetting what they consume by planting new trees. And I'm like, well, my parents did that 20 years ago, and I was thinking, and I'm so here I want to test it with the community. Like, what if this NFT became like digital trees, and then
Mm.
the smart contract was like, okay, every resell of this NFT contributes to a tree funding carbon
Really
neutral
cool.
long goal.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that. That see that's the thing. These big, that's like a big vision. That's a big important vision because once you have that, I think your roadmap becomes more clear. But and then you start to think about other bigger things that you could do that are really possible in Web3 right now. Like when you said that part about the environment, I immediately think of Klima DAO, Klima Coin. If anyone's familiar with it, this is a really very big project that is generating millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and that you can you can align yourself with that project, right? And so now, because their objective is carbon offset, carbon emissions and carbon offset in it, attached to the coin, and that's what you're buying into. So that aligns with something like that, and I think now you have, like, this is just massive, right? Like it's big enough on its own, but this is the beauty in the Web3. You can keep connecting these Lego blocks that they talk about a lot. Those are the Lego blocks. Like you can just keep connecting things because they are all part of this thing. You can roadmap out the whole the whole Web3 can be kind of a roadmap. I mean, that would be interesting to see where all these pieces are.
Well, this is the perfect time to go into the
Yep.
toucan and
Yeah,
go
I posted the link
have
in there.
Golden and then whoever else is going to tune in. So you dropped the
Right.
link in the chat. I see that. That's awesome. So
Okay.
should we sign out and say sayonara, adios, goodbye, Setien,
Ciao. Ciao. Okay.
and
See you then.
everything else, and see everybody in the replays, in the LinkedIn comments, in the Discord, in the Twitter, in the volleys, in the toucans. What about real life? When are we going to meet in real life? That's the big question. All right.
This is the question.
Thank you so much, man. And we're
Cheers.
going to head over.